What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for February 17th, 2025. CIG said no more features, but of course the ship sales continue. Fight for Pyro Phase 3 is here? What? And some exciting new weapons are on the way. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first Week in Review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Stop by and say hi. I've been seeing a lot of you still, and it's always great. Now, we have a lot to go through this week. Before we do, let me share with you today's sponsor. Thank you to Manta Sleep for sponsoring today's video. Manta Sleep makes the world's best sleep masks and functional sleep accessories. Ever since Manta Sleep asked me to try out one of their masks, it was a part of my nightly and naply routine from that point forward. Now, today, I want to talk to you about something a little different. If you're like me, you can't sleep in silence. I need a podcast or a video or something to keep my mind from racing and eventually fall asleep. But many of you need something more subtle, less distracting, and that's where the new Manta White Noise Machine comes in. It can make all sorts of noise I didn't know existed. Brown, coral, pink, pearl, and white. It has 5 different fan sounds. These are my wife's favorite, and 3 rain sounds. My favorite, and here's the rain. And 2 ocean sounds. Now, it also has something really cool where I just turn this on and off with a remote. So you can keep that speaker a little bit away from you and control it here by the bed. It's super easy, and there's also something really cool. The timer speaks to you.
1 hour.
So that'll be 1 hour, which is really cool. So if you guys are interested and want to try anything like this out, pick up a mask or the Manta White Noise Machine, head to the link below and use code SaltEMike for 10% off. Thanks as always for engaging with the sponsors, guys. Manta has been a game changer for me and my wife. She loves that thing. But with that said, we have a lot to go through, so let's jump into the patch notes. All right, so nothing on Monday, but on Tuesday, the 4.0.2 PTU started in Evo and went open. The main goal here is to fix some bugs and get supply or die running. That's the next event after Phase 3, but more on that in a second. So for more features, we just had some optimization, nighttime brightness passes, and they also increased the fall-off times for distortion on size 4 power plants, which are only capitals like the Polaris Reclaimer and 890, so it doesn't affect that many people. And then they changed the MFD on the Starfarer again. Missed MFDs have been changed more than anything in the last few months, and this one's rough. They're covering a lot of what little view you have. Then some thruster audio gold passes for the Arrow F8 and Cutlass, and if I'm being honest, I heard no difference, and yeah, we found out because it wasn't in and they put it in later. For supply or die, there is an epic post on Reddit from real MrKraken. He has also made a YouTube video, and that explains pretty much everything you need to know to complete the event. Both are linked below. I love the idea of the point system and really look forward to doing the event. As for my experiences, I never came across anyone in the PTU doing the event, but the AI are pretty on point, and I think maybe some AI in the air would make this properly risky for groups too small or maybe not too prepared, because you know what happens on dead servers. People just farm these things forever. And lastly, for this patch, they accidentally left their April Fool's joke in Stars. Oh yeah, it's called Triggerfish in Star Citizen. It seems to be an AC map, but it's in a hab room, and it even has a little good doctor map on the desk. Then fight for Pyro Phase 3. Yep, that's right. There's a Phase 3, but there's 0 rewards, 0 reputation involvement, just a lot of money since there's no 6 out of 6. You could just endlessly do these, and they're pretty easy. They're cool, though. The ground mission took me to an amazing cave outpost for the Slicers. This is kind of stuff that I think we can expect for the near future, and what they kind of mean by content, right? They have caves, they can put AI in them, and I don't know, I just think the little set dressing and stuff was cool. I'm also going to take a shot in the dark here. They want to know for sure if people are doing the event for just the rewards or for the gameplay, and I'm going to guess way less people are doing Phase 3 than they did 1 and 2. And then on Thursday, 4.0.2 PTU, we start out with known issues of all things. I think it is important to note that what the blockers are, right? These are, as far as I understand, the must fixes before the patch goes live. CIG is known to just remove them without being fixed from the known issues list in the past, but this time will be different, I hope. Spoiler alert, it is not. For features, courier missions are re-enabled in Pyro as well, which I know some people like and is just a nice intro for a new player, right? But unfortunately, the first few missions I tried were 2 caves and they never worked. After that, I was able to complete some missions, but these are really in dangerous places and I had to pick up in a public place as well. So if I'm not right at the pickup location when I accept the mission, someone can just grab my box before I do. More on these issues in a moment. Then we have some marker improvements in ships, as well as a new ship compass that is supposed to be more performant. And yeah, people were making mono builds for the Heatseeker weapons, so they made sure you can remove them now. There's a video that we have posted here, and the link for that video will be in the description. So it's pretty funny, but yeah, not good. Lastly, was a sneaky change. The Grey Cat rocks bag are removable, so you cannot sell from it yet, but it is a good start. But until we could sell from containers, it's just going to feel a little bit off. But I hope this work that leads to us kind of the promised changes on mining bags, things like that. And oh, you can't buy these bags, but you can repair and get them back and make more if you want to do something with those. Then on Friday, we had another PTU. And this section isn't very fun going into the weekend. They took out the entire set of courier missions. And oh yeah, one of those blockers for the PTU going live was PvP missions. That is now not considered a blocker. It's considered a critical change. So don't expect those to go in. This might be the difference this year, though. If it doesn't work, it just won't go into live, right? So they have a time when they want to release this stuff because the narrative stuff is important. And yeah, we'll see. They also said they did some updates to deal with load times. My load times were pretty short, so maybe it's working. For bugs, the most notable to me is they're trying to nail some annoying ones, like quantum travel not going to the destination you're aligned to, falling through trains, power pip issues, and more. But the one that stuck out to me the most, and it's probably going to stick out to some of you, is they lowered the amount that salvage panels give again. It is back down to about 5-ish from 9. Ship salvage seems to be as expected. Normally, I would defend a decision like this, but not when literally all the missions in the game are flooding players with money. I felt salvage was kind of on par and felt balanced, but you let me know what you think. I think it has something to do with the new event coming. Then we had a comms dive. If you aren't familiar with what this is where the community team members grab some pressing topics from the community and chase down devs to get them answered. They start out with quantum fuel, and all the ships are balanced based on category, but they also will tweak ships like explorers or haulers to have more if they felt it was needed. Pyro is brutal on small ships, right? But only because their mission system just forces you to travel so much, and there aren't many local missions. Would you be frustrated with your size 1 ship if you spent most of your time in one orbit and just did missions there? Then that singular jump to go to a new planetary body and have new experiences wouldn't be so bad, even if it empties your tank. Would feel both sensical and less frustrating to me. Realistic audio from CitizenCon 2023 is getting closer. I just hope I can hear footsteps better, to be honest. You can't hear them level-wise. I don't know if it's a headphones issue for me or what, but yeah. Volt weapons are really close, and they give a good description of each one and what we're going to get. It sounds like the rifle is holding up the whole process because it needs 2 different recoil patterns. This is the one that switches from an AR to a beam. The main theme of these is as they heat up, their characteristics change, making them more punishing to who you are shooting and yourself if you overheat. Vehicles and freight elevators were mentioned, but in passing, as they let us know that they want to make them better. Main things seem to be, just getting them working, getting mining bags to both work on the grid and be sold from them, and the commodity redistribution feature. This will mainly be used to merge smaller boxes into larger ones, but that is so needed. And then downtime. They did this multiple times this week. They've taken down the live servers for maintenance. A lot of people were praising that. I think many people are pleased to have this, and if it actually improves things, and it may have. I guess with 4.0.2, we'll find out if we see progress, improvements, and how slow these things should be. But with that, that was a long patch notes section. Let's move on to the video updates. All right, we actually had 2 videos this week. The first one is behind the ships, the Anvil Super Hornet Mark II. If you aren't familiar with the show, it appears to be, for now at least, to be pulling out the ship marketing segments from inside Star Citizen and making their own thing on Tuesdays. They start out with the show with explaining their marketing strategy when making ships like these, and I think it's pretty funny.
The Super Hornet Mark II is a fighter from Anvil Aerospace. It's not replacing the old Mark 1. The old Mark 1 is still going to exist, and it's going to be in the verse. So players who own the Mark 1 are going to keep their Mark 1. This is an upgrade if you want to go that direction.
So the Super Hornet Mark II is the Super Hornet Mark I beefed up to take on all the stylings of the new Mark II Hornet. So the F7A MK2, this is the F7CM MK2, so it's in that family. It's a new generation of Hornets.
So the Mark 1 will still be there, but again, this is just better in every way. Okay, I guess. Again, I melted every Mark 1 Hornet I had because they just don't match up in a fight. Continuing this conversation instead of using ships as a stepping stone, and yeah, I just can't do this until more features and gameplay exist. But like, give me something to specialize in, right? Harder to do with combat ships, but I think it's possible or plausible to do this. And then next they describe the new bespoke things that come with the Heatseeker pack.
The Heatseeker Mark I was a variant. It is no longer a variant for the Super Hornet Mark II. It is now a paint, and the package comes with a mount. So the mount is going to be an all-in-one package that comes with a bespoke gun and the turret mount as well. So the bespoke gun is going to be a ballistic Gatling type weapon, but it has 2 barrels.
So yeah, this one is actually kind of cool. It allows you to rock some ballistics with your laser repeaters if you go attritions or ardors, because they're similar bullet velocities. For PvE, I think it's probably a pretty solid choice for you and a friend, but for PvP, the F7A is probably still king with, those contested zone weapons, the NDBs. It was escaping me. Now for ISC, it was titled Fight for Pyro. And we're just going to jump into this one quickly. The first clip is multiple sneak peeks at Star Kitten themed racing armor, and Pulse skin in the background is a silhouette of the Perseus. You could see that as well. Next, you have heard about this already, but it looks like what content patches, they're telling us what they might look like here.
The way the content patches are going to break down are, we're ultimately trying to provide new content to you each month. Alongside all of this, we're going to be essentially providing new missions, new events, kind of a lot of what we've done before, but taking it up to the next level. We're going to be sending you all the way around the verse, doing lots of different varied types of gameplay. You'll still be doing events that are prevalent to a story that we're going to be working on as well.
I got you covered!
As well as new missions that build up the existing roster that we actually have in game already. There will be some content that is only there for a limited amount of time, but ultimately a lot of this content is still going to persist when we hit to Star Citizen 1.0. So we're actually building out the larger content map that exists in the game. On top of that, there's going to be a huge focus now on stability and quality of life too, because we want a stable environment for our developers to work in, but we also want a stable game that's less buggy, less crashes, and much more pleasant for you guys to play day to day.
So the big thing here is that they should help them build the actual main story quest and the rest of the game, and then they have their narrative, which if they stick to it, it'll be good, but time will tell if they stick to this whole thing. Speaking of narrative, they give a lot more information on how they're planning that over the entire year.
One of the things that we were kind of excited to try for it was actually utilizing a storytelling structure that's usually used in TV shows. Basically, there's usually an A story and a B story that happen within a single episode. So what we're trying to do is actually utilize kind of a similar thing, but stretched out over a longer period of time. And the idea being that it makes the universe feel bigger. So there's not just one thing happening that's consuming the entire universe. Currently, the plan is actually that the A story, we've already started it, and is actually going to be going through September. And then the B story is a little bit smaller, but it starts basically in April and goes on. So it's a multi-month thing. So it goes on until about October. Once this A story and B story kind of resolve themselves, we have a new A story that starts up and a new B story. So we sort of bounce back and forth. So some months we'll have more B story than A story. Some other months we'll have more A story than B story. But it gives us a way to kind of, again, pull in a lot of different facets of the universe, and whether it's gameplay, mission types, ships, and not have to figure out one overarching narrative that somehow encapsulates everything.
This doesn't replace that big storyline that we talked about at CitizenCon.
No, this doesn't replace that, the 1.0 story, but it is actually kind of offering an exciting opportunity to kind of lay the groundwork for that type of storytelling in the game.
So they have this whole thing planned out until October, which is CitizenCon time. But when you plan, Chris Roberts laughs. They are really confident, and I am just not yet, that they can effectively be on time until they actually do something like that. So we'll see. Again, patch notes section, we're already seeing things that we need getting pulled out, right? Then they shared the details of the story up to this point, but they give us hints on what they plan to do in the short term with us and why.
At the end of this chapter, this leaves us with the truth of what was really happening and sets the stage for something more to come. The story doesn't end here.
I'll keep them occupied.
The way that this story ultimately is intending to play out, there are actually going to be real ramifications based on the group community choices that are made. So that will actually change the direction of the universe. Or it can either go one way or it can go the other way. So we're actually going to be playing around a lot with ways that players can decide how they want the universe to change. So moving forward, there's going to be a bit of a twist that comes down the road, which is going to escalate basically the situation into one of our first big events. With this, it basically allows us to plan out a bit more and actually, again, start to build a growing narrative.
Giving players more of a reason to engage and be able to talk to each other and like, hey, where did you get that item from? Oh, well, I was here when this happened, and I was here when this happened. Definable points in our universe's history. It adds to the universe, it adds to the story of it all, and it means that you as a player help build this world out.
So we haven't even experienced their first big part of the event. That's really interesting. Also in my React, I saw a lot of chatter about not liking the "I was here" comment from Elliot in an alpha. I love it personally. I way prefer getting cool, like minor small items as alpha rewards than the pay to progress or win or whatever you want to call Star Citizen's funding model right now. It forces them to design a game, and I love that. All right, and for other updates, we start out with a sneak peek. So they show a data pad that seems to be a little bit more interactable maybe than we've had in the past, but this is probably part of some mission or narrative thing that they plan on doing. They do see the Pyro amalgamated logo, and they also are the same size as the executive hangar keys, so these could be keys as well, but not too many hints here outside of more Pyro gameplay. So the Super Hornet Mark II sail, we obviously saw the video, and the sail I think is fairly straightforward. It's a Hornet with an extra seat and an extra package with the skin for a turret. For the ship, it's similar to the other Hornets, but it can hold an extra shield. They also managed to value this thing at nearly $300 with the Heatseeker package, when I think combat ships are more of, they're so one-dimensional. They don't have beds, they have low QT fuel, they don't have cargo. I mean, the Hornet kind of does. But yeah, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. For in-game credits, I get it. The material is made out of what could be something fancy, but for real money, I always found this odd. So let me know what you guys think. Turret guide. This design is basically what I assume Star Citizen's code looks like. A mess. This level of complication between what should be one ship, maybe two, with a Hornet and a Hornet, Super Hornet, one seat, two seats, really doesn't seem necessary. And I really hope CIG learns one day that more simplistic ship systems would make the game more accessible, more fun, and all these things. At least that's my opinion. This is the opposite of accessible, again, in my opinion. You can go into depth with higher tiers, but come on here, guys. And then Coramor, which is Valentine's Day in the Star Citizen universe. This year, it isn't really that big of an event. You can just get in-game a Spectrum badge by completing Duo Showdown and winning. Oh, and the Arena Commander front end changed again. The rest is community contests and paint and ship sales. If you like pink, this is certainly the sale for you, but outside that, there isn't much of an in-game connection like we had for Lunar New Year. And for dev posts, NPC weapon damage and the P8 AR. So first thing I want to point out is it's the strongest gun by far in the game, and it's coming to the CZs, which is really awesome. The P8 AR will be on the loot table. Second is that some of these weapons are so strong that Zach named the Dead Rig and the P8, and they feel like it will be kind of painful to be killed by NPCs with them, and they want to modify their damage to be lower. The weird thing is they're also terrible to be killed by players with, right? Getting 1 or 2 shot is never fun, but this is balance, right? No one-shot headshots on the shooter side with a sniper or something also feels terrible. So they got this balance that they have to play with, and I don't envy their situation. Then the next post is about cleanup. Phil popped in on Spectrum to clear up some cleanup questions. In case you aren't aware of how CIG does cleanup, they do it based on the type of item. So there can be a lot of items in one area if they're all different types. But if you have a ton of, say, commodities, they'll start to poof and disappear if not snap to a grid after a certain number. The whole coffee cup thing, right? And then the Ares saga continues, but this time I feel like it might be settled for a while. They made it fly more heavy, essentially, buffed its armor, and gave the weapon, specifically the laser variant, more punch. I assume this is going to feel horrible against smaller and nimble bounties, and it did, and that should be the goal at least, and like, you know, good against really large targets, but rough against small ones. And then the Hornet Ghost, they gave an update on how the ship works now and how they want it to work. Basically, right now, the whole ship has a permanent buff to stealth no matter what component you have on the turret slot, which is why the Hornet Ghost has been so popular in the PU. But they want to make it so if you swap out the center attachment, you lose that stealth capability, at least significant stealth capability, and they want the same in reverse. Anyone have an issue with this? Because I do. The Ghost has lower health, but you can swap its ability to a better ship. It just seems kind of silly. And with that, that is Week in Review this week. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, comment down below on anything we discussed. There is a lot there. And yeah, subscribe for more Weeks in Review. And if you want to go above and beyond, you can join, you can leave a super thanks, or you can get some merch at saltymike.tv. Thank you again for watching, guys, and I will catch you next week.